And welcome everyone. This is the Hearthstone.fi Monday Night Community Tournament number 21. My name is Markus, Olodyn, Koskivirta, and we are already in the semi-final stage. This is semi-final number 1. The player from Poland called A83650. I'm just gonna go ahead and call him A because it's gonna be a lot easier for me to cast that. Versus the German player Ikarus. We will see both the players match up in a best of 5 conquest format, so the winner has to change deck. I'm gonna go ahead and tell the players to start the match. So we'll be able to join the battle ongoing. As you can see, both players are legendary quality of this season. And that is to be expected since the tournament does give out World Championship points. 10 for the first place finisher, 5 for the second place finisher, and and 1 point for the third and fourth place finisher. So the player that loses this match is guaranteed to get at least 1 World Championship point, and if you go to the finals, you're guaranteed to get at least 5. So we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. I'm gonna have to ask Ikarus to allow spectating. And we can see that this is more than likely a oil rogue coming out from A versus another oil rogue from Ikarus. I would expect that. Yes, that's the case. With Dr. Boom. And a nice slow start for both players. I would say that the advantage in this matchup is in favor of A, given the fact that he has the coin in his starting hand. When you're playing as a rogue in this sort of matchup, the activator for the SI7 agent in the coin, the possibility to combo off things that you wouldn't otherwise be unable to do in the early game, it may end up being one of the deciding factors, in addition to the cards drawn, of course. Eviscerate, Deadly Poison, SI7 agent, fairly strong start from Ikarus. On turn 3, you don't usually want to play the SI7 agent as just a bare 3-3 in this matchup, so I understand why he opts to go for the dagger redo. It's not 100% optimal for the mana in this situation, but if you play down the SI7 agent without the combo, you're basically throwing out 2 damage that could be significant. And giving targets for the opposing rogue to use his abilities on as preemptive removal. The possibility for him to combo his own SI7 agent into it with the attack from the dagger and things like that. The turn 3 Othering Farseer, on the other hand, you do sort of waste the 2 health that was put out from A at this stage, but it gave a target, it gave a body onto the field, give you the chance to start developing your own board. This time didn't quite pan out. The perfect answer with the Deadly Poison. And an interesting choice of playing Van Cleef as a 4-4 onto the board at this stage of the game. He could have possibly been a 6-6 or an 8-8 fairly easily if Ikarus had waited just a while longer, maybe used the backstep. The other option for turn 4 on him would have been pretty limited though, so I do understand why he played down the Edwin over the SI7 agent. The 3-3 with the 2 damage is a bit more expendable than the Edwin though, so that's the reason why I'm thinking that the SI7 agent in this situation would have been a better option. The bigger body against your opposing rogue could have had a significance. This did force A to use the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil as a straight up +3 attack for your weapon instead of using it with the combo, which does take out some of the damage potential from this deck. And we're gonna see the Azure Drake being handled perfectly with that backstab SI7 agent combination. As you can see, the players are messaging me about questions regarding to the other semifinal as well. Semifinal number 1 will be done first with the whole best of 5 of Ikarus versus 8, and then we will go ahead and join semifinal number 2, which will be then Tacticals versus the winner of the LG Tristan versus Pavel matchup. I believe that was the matchup. Alright, on turn 6, A has a lot of options open to him. The opposing SS7 agent could be removed with just an attack from the Wicked Knife, but in a way you want to be holding on to that for attack potential. It will clear out opposing Azure Drakes. It will do a lot of good for you if you hold on to it. Even the Blade Flurry becomes that much more better with the addition of Blood Mage Thalnos and stuff like that. Any activator for the SS7 agent on this side of the board would have to be a bit clunky. Definitely don't want to be using Sap. The second SS7 into double SS7 with damage, you would have to utilize some sort of wasted damage potential there anyway. If you just use the 4-1 daggers to attack, to remove his 3-3 from the board and develop your own board with a 6-6 worth of stats, I think that is the optimal situation, because you are holding on to the Deadly Poison, which will be able to activate the Blade Flurry to be a bit bigger, and the Thalnos as well. Eviscerate, all of these would have been a bit clunky to get rid of the single 3-3. The activator in that case, or the removal in that case, being used as one extra damage wasted, so to speak, but compared to the options it was still better. A fairly straightforward turn from Ikarus. You have 7 mana, you have Dr. Boom. What do? You play Dr. Boom. Pretty much a no-brainer right there. A Thalnos into Eviscerate would deal 5 damage into Dr. Boom. Then make sure that you clear everything else out with the Blade Flurry. You can also use one of the 3-3s as the end-all damage dealer in that case. Because it's unlikely that in this matchup you're gonna get a bigger board than 3 targets for the Blade Flurry to be used on. So I understand why it was chosen over the waste of the Eviscerate, so to speak. Anyway, you would have used the Blade Flurry. The only option there was to either use the Eviscerate or this SI7 agent, or the other SI7 agent to run into the Dr. Boom itself. In this situation, forced to use Eviscerate as a single 2 damage spell, it's pretty disgusting to have to witness, simply because of the fact that he could not afford to put down the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil without any targets. He's looking at his hand right now. There's 6 damage plus Blade Flurry and 4 potential lethal with this SS7 agent on the board. Or is it lethal? Let's see, 6, 4, 7 plus 4, that would have been 11 plus 4. So it would have been 15 damage in his hand already. With this play, he's forced to play the Sap onto the opposing Pilot Shredder, because the existing minion already means that if the rogue is able to combo the oils effectively, you're looking at a potential lethal from their board. Luckily for Ikarus though, A only has the keys to sprint up at 4 mana, see, and try to reach that critical potential. Left with 5 mana, the Azure Drake probably gonna see some play here. I don't see a reason for him to waste the Violet Teacher out yet, because the Violet Teacher can then be removed without any bigger threats by the second Eviscerate, combined with anything really, even with the dagger attack. The 5 mana 4/4 Drake also gives the added card draw, which gives you more choices to work with on the upcoming turn. So in my opinion, that's the best play. And if he decides to use the second Sap on this Azure Drake, you're gonna get 1 more card out of there, guaranteed. Probably not gonna see that though, the game won't last as long. Trying to cycle the Phantom Knives in this stage without first playing the Azure Drakes, that's a bit of a desperate move, because you can get the card draw from the Azure Drake and then you would face the 4/4 body with the 4/4 body of theirs as well. This Sap play, it's not optimal, but he's basically forced to do it. If he had just heal-bought it with the Azure Drake, I don't know what the end result would have been. This way, yep, you burn 1 card. I think it was a Lothep. And in this matchup, of course, Lothep is a very, very good card, denying almost all of these cards from being used effectively. It's something you don't want to see burned. A should start to empty out his hand a little bit in this stage. You could maybe argue that the Violet Teacher into an activated Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil is enough. But, okay, if he uses the Fan of Knives and already fills up, he's once again at 10. He's going to be using the coin without having a Violet Teacher on the field. So it is sort of wasted. Not 100% wasted though. Probably gonna play down the Earthen Ring Farseer. Oh! He values the removal from the second Fan of Knives over the Farseer's heal. Because if he used the Farseer's heal, he could also then just use the Wicked Knife to attack into the 3-1. The end result would have been the exactly same situation. The 3-1 from the board would have been removed. He would have been at 16 hit points, but in addition to that, they would have had one of these Earthen Ring Farseer 3-3 bodies on the board as well. So I don't think that was the optimal play in that situation. Double spell-powered backstab taking care of the 4-4. Nothing else. No need to really. Ikarus has turned the game around. It started out well for A. He had the damage burst potential. He was ahead fairly clearly. Now the situations have changed. He might be able to take it back though with the double sap play. With the Violet Teacher and the preparations combined with it. Both of these Azure Drakes going back into Ikarus' hand. They are the highest mana cost cards in the Rogue arsenal in this matchup, so the saps are quite efficient against them, even though they do draw the card as the battle cry happens. Now, we are live at this stage. There's a 10-minute delay in the stream itself, so thanks for tuning in, everyone. I will be able to answer to any possible chat requests right now. Now, Fan of Knives does take out all of these Violet Apprentices, but that's pretty much it. With the Goblin Auto Barber and the Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil, you're gonna be able to combo it with the Blade Flurry once they go for the face with that attack, and the 5 damage will be enough to clear the board completely from the opposing side. And also push down your opponent to a very critical 6 hit points. Unfortunately though, the Millhouse coming down from the Shredder, forcing the Eviscerate to be used on the 4-4. That is the best possible minion you can get out of Shredder. Too bad for A that Ikarus had the Eviscerate to handle it. Now forced to use the Earthen Ring Farseer as a heal at this stage. Would the board look any different had he played the Farseer a bit earlier? Well, the opposing player would have 3 less hit points. I believe that would be the only difference that in this situation counts. Using the Southsea deckhand properly as a removal against the 6-2 from the opposing player. 9 hit points. You have seen double Eviscerate being used already, so you're not too afraid of that. Only 1 Blade Flurry done. So in the case of Dagger Mastery, Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil, that's 4 damage. Blade Flurry, 8 damage, so 1 damage off lethal currently. With these Azure Drakes though, is that enough? Nope, you'll run out of mana very soon. I think the best bet for Ikarus is either to drop double Azure Drake, wait for the next turn to get that value out of the Blade Flurry, or then to go ahead and sprint right away. Ah, well, prep sprint. That's also an option. You could go for the prep Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil into Blade Flurry as well. Let's see if that's exactly what it thinks. Yep, you're forcing A down to just 1 hit point. Oh, with the Azure Drake, that's actually lethal. Perfect lethal. He did the math better. With the preparation, he was able to activate the Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil just a bit earlier. Yeah, I did the math earlier on. I didn't see the lethal. Thanks to the prep, Ikarus got the first match. Now that the old rogue matchup is cleared, it is 1-0 in favor of Ikarus, the German player. We will keep our views on A for the whole duration of this matchup. As you can see, we're using the inbuilt spectator mode of the game client, so no reason to disrupt the flow of the matches. Holding on to the sap, deciding to still go with the rogue. I'm fairly certain he knows Ikarus has got druid and warlock left. And both of those matchups, they're fairly good for the rogue, not too bad. And you still have to get the win out of all of your 3 decks, so it's basically the same to just keep going with what you picked earlier on. The sap in this stage of the game against the druid, well, if he innervates out something really big, like maybe... Well, Dr. Boom would not be an optimal guide sap back into their hand, but anything bigger like a turn 3 innervated 5 mana Druid of the Claw, stuff like that, you could use it to turn the tempo on your advantage and maybe null out the coins or innervates that the opposing Druid plays. Now, interestingly enough, he chose to attack the face, probably just because he knew that there's not going to be anything else to play on turn 3. The new dagger up will be a safe bet, and there we go, it is a safe bet. He might not even play the Deadly Poison this turn, because you want those tokens to be coming out of those Violet Teachers for all the spells. Yep, there we go. And you never know, there might even be a deck tech card like Harrison waiting there to be innervated out. Just turn 4 Violet Teacher, fairly straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of time to think about these moves. Of course they are, let's say, fairly obvious to make. But you should always take a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to think on your options, especially given that you might get a card that's important to follow on. This Lothep denying all the 1/1 tokens from being created, and Ikarus will more than likely use Lothep to attack into the Violet Teacher before any spell activations happen. The swipe also very nice to get played in this stage of the game. It means you get to hold your shade is still... Oh, alright. You don't get to keep your shade still covered. I personally would have opted to go for the Lothep attack and keep the shade still stealth, because now the rogue has the potential to deal with it and not let it grow any bigger. This backstab being comboed with the second Violet Teacher and the Eviscerate, giving a significant presence onto the board. Unfortunately for A though, Ikarus does have the second swipe as well, so we're probably going to see the swipe onto the Violet Teacher with the Blood Mage Thalnos down. And that'll be the story of those teachers, and a couple of these apprentices as well. It's easy enough to kill off the Thalnos, there's nothing special about that. You want to cycle the Fan of Knives, try to get something to play, but double prep with no minions to get the Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil advantage out. It's not looking too good. Whatever Ikarus does play down, the backstab and sap will be able to take care of it, but that's pretty much it. Ikarus' hand, once again playing itself, just the Druid of the Claw as a charger. You want to push A down as fast as possible, down to that 14 damage critical range, where your combo will be able to just completely take care of the situation. And you want to make the rogue feel they're at a position where they have to start making drastic moves. And even using the Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil without the prep to clear out the 4/4. Now, Ikarus doesn't have the Force of Nature in his hand yet. He does have double Keeper of the Grove, so that's 4 damage. And if he pops down the Shade of Noxdramas this turn, and one of these Keepers to silence down this Pilot Shredder, that would also be an okay play. Other options, Wrath first for the 7/3, use the 3 damage to see what pops up from the Shredder. You could opt to say, first silence the Shredder, then use the Wrath without the pop becoming an option, then just using this Innervate to take out the Shade, or Hero Power to go for face damage. Perhaps to go for Hero Power. It is safer, considering it's unlikely that the Rogue will be able to push down 26 damage. But it could happen, you never know, making it to 27. Personally would have maybe preferred to see the Shade, because that threatens lethal next turn. Now that you've got the Keeper of the Grove on the board, you can, with the Savage Roar, you can get the 6 damage plus 1/7, that would be exact lethal, but had he played this Shade of Noxdramas down with the Innervate, there would be 11 hit points left right now. Alright, now that we've seen the Blade Flurry being played, the Shade of Noxdramas held onto his hand is actually the correct call. He can now use it to start clearing the board. Wrath out the 3-3, fairly straightforward. And there's the combo with the Innervate. That is GG. You needed the Force of Nature, you got the Force of Nature. Game number 2, going to Ikarus. It is now 2-0 in favor. We're gonna go ahead and head up into game number 3 of our semifinal number 1 in Hearthstone.fi Monday Night Community Tournament number 21. This means that the only deck left is the Warlock. I have no idea if it's a hand lock, if it's a zoo lock, if it's a demon lock. We have seen a couple of demon lock variants do really well in tournaments recently, so I would like to see one of those from Ikarus' side of the board. Considering that he knows that it's a Warlock, he might well pick the Hunter to continue the matchup, because no matter what version of Warlock they are running, the Hunter should have a fairly good chance of beating it. It is traditionally a bad matchup for the Warlock. Some players argue that handlocks actually like playing against Hunters, but it is a difficult situation to be in. You really have to master how to play handlock in order to optimize your chances. It is taking the players just a short while longer. Ah, there we go. Just as I was about to say that, I'm going to ask them whether or not they are ready. They prove that indeed they are.
So shall be mine.
Watch your back.
Now you want to mulligan this sprint more than likely. Double SS7 agent and an Eviscerate. And if I saw correctly, there was a Doom Guard in there with these. I would say it's a Zoolock. It's looking strongly like a Zoolock. With the Implosion added as well. Yep, probably a Zoo. Full on Zoo. Doesn't even have to think about it. Using turn 2 as a tap instead of committing the Clockwork Gnome. I guess that makes sense. You're preparing to fiddle the board later on. Ah, with the Enhancer Mechano as well. That's a deck tech card you don't always see. In zoos. Yeah, zoos usually do tend to have at least 2 to 3 minions on the board at a single time, but if you're at a situation where you're fighting back, it doesn't really provide that big of an advantage. He does have pretty much all the answers he needs in this current situation to handle the board completely. On turn 4, no targets for the Implosion. He's going to go ahead and life tap, probably into double Leper Gnome or Leper Gnome and Clockwork Gnome. All the gnomes you can imagine. Unfortunately for him though, there's the Fan of Knives just waiting to be used. Yep. Drawing out Lothep. No reason to coin out anything right now. Gonna go ahead and pass the turn. In a way, waste 1 mana crystal, but there's nothing to use it on. And if you were to commit this South Sea deck hand onto the board already, you would give a target for Mortal Coil. We have seen Mortal Coil make a comeback in all forms of Warlock lately, which is interesting enough. Second Enhancer, wow, that's difficult. You have no targets for the Implosion, so you're forced to utilize these not so optimal plays of popping down the Abusive Sergeant without the Battle Cry getting any value. That's a bit difficult. And there's the second Fan of Knives being top decked by A. This might well be going in favor of the Rogue right now. If he doesn't commit, I really hope he doesn't commit any minions onto the board, because we should see that there's the Implosion just waiting to be used on targets. And this backstab,
This guy's toast.
not gonna get used. Instead, he does put double SS7 agents with the combo from both with the coin activator. Yep, traditionally you would want to do this. You would want to put bodies onto the board, but since Ikarus has the hand, which basically just begs for you to play something out there to beat targets, it's not so great. On the other hand, since he didn't use the Fan of Knives last turn, those 1/1s might as well not have even been there. Gonna go ahead and try and race the Zoolock. Let's see how this ends up. And an Undertaker as well. Wow, this is a super aggressive build. With the Enhancer Mechanos and Implosions, that's a weird combination of cards. Undertaker doesn't really sync up very well with the Implosions and the Enhancer Mechano. Not really. After the nerf, it's become far less significant of a threat. And if you don't run as many Death Rattle cards, like since these cards like Enhanso and the just used Implosion are cards that basically replace Death Rattle cards, making the Undertaker less useful. I think we have... Do we have lethal here? We might have 5, 8, 4. Yes, exact lethal. 8 takes first match against Ikarus. We might see a full-on reversal here. Since this Zulok, I'm not convinced by it. Of course, he had a fairly awful starting hand with double Enhanso and power without no targets. And all the things that can go wrong basically went wrong for him there, but that combination might end up backfiring on him. The Rogue is gone from A. He still has the Hunter and the Druid. He knows it's a Zulok. Druid should be a very good matchup against the Zoo. If you get the taunts, if you run the taunts, like the Kel'Thuzad ramp version with a heavy taunt use, that could be strong. Also, you can just pick the Hunter and go for the race. It's a full-on face Hunter with the Arcane Golems. Worgen Infiltrator gonna be held. Mad Scientist probably gonna get held. Arcane Golem, I don't know yet. That's gonna get replaced with the Owl as well. Interesting display bug. These guys going to the other side. Unleash plus Eagle Horn. Well, the Eagle Horn has nice synergy with the Mad Scientist from turn 2. No reason to use the coin on the first turn. Flame Imp. Yep, that's a strong starter card, traditionally. But it might end up backfiring due to the fact that it deals the 3 damage to the face of Ikarus. And against the face Hunter, each and every point of damage is very, very important. Turn 2, Haunted Creeper. Much bigger than the Void Walker. Yeah, the Void Walker in theory provides you with... What's that? That's the Explosive Trap. Alright, in this case, I understand why he plays the smaller minions first. No Freezing Trap in this aggro version. It could have been a Snake Trap as well. If it had been a Snake Trap, then that 2-1 Leper Gnome would have been even better. Getting those 2 1-1s out in force, enabling him to clear this whole board if they had been snakes. On the other hand, now that he has cleared out the Harvest Golem as well, any attack made by Ikarus will just clear his board completely. If he plays down the Enhancer Mechano and luckily gets Divine Shields, that's pretty much the only way those minions might still stay alive. He could just not attack, but you are facing a Face Hunter, which... Actually, not attacking is a very potential option right now. Yeah, you can just commit down your taunt and all your small guys. Wow, that's... You want the Enhancer Mechano to get as much value. When you play like this, it's pretty clear. Unfortunately, though, Unleash the Hounds. Yeah, you're gonna get 6 Hounds out of that. Combine it with the Infiltrator into the 1-1 Void Walker, you can just completely wreck the board if you want. Silencing the taunts, going for the damage. Nope, just silencing the taunts. This is a really odd pairing. Only the Divine Shields will save them. 1-1s. Spectral Spider's only one's getting the... Divine Shields, Void Walker getting his taunt back up again. Utilizing his existing minions to try and get as much clear from the Hunter side of the board as possible. This, what is usually an ultra-aggressive matchup from both sides, is now just turned into a game of waiting. Interestingly enough, one of those cards, this Explosive Trap, holding on to the whole board of Ikarus, and on the other hand, A doesn't want to play any minions because he knows Ikarus is waiting for a chance to utilize these minions to clear out whatever he plays down. The Wolf Rider, yes, it could take out the Void Walker, but there's no rush really. You can just keep pinging him with your hero ability. If he doesn't want to commit into the trap, there's no reason for you to force that onto him. And amazingly enough, this Spectral Spider who had the Divine Shield gets another Divine Shield, which is fairly unlikely. And the Creeper who already had Wind Fury got Wind Fury, and the Void Walker who had Taunt already got Taunt. This damaged golem dealing some serious damage to the face, thanks to the Power Overwhelming and the Wind Fury combination. 12 damage in a single turn. This Unleash will be able to clear the board 100%. So to reach 10 damage, Ikarus needs to get... I'm sorry, 8 damage. To reach 8 damage he needs to get Doom Guard and the Dark Bomb. First get Dark Bomb, then play Doom Guard. But with 7 mana, you're not able to life tap into it as well. That would leave you with only 5. So it is looking a lot like the Hunter will be able to take it. Yep, Abusive Sergeant by itself, not going to be enough. Life tapping, and there's the Undertaker. Once again, underwhelming. And it's a tie-up. Wow, these matches are going really fast. It is now 2-2. With the Hunter taking the match as well. As I was telling you guys, that Zoolock doesn't really make a good impression on me. There's a Druid left, and Druid versus Sue. You guys know it. If there is a taunt wall, and there is a taunt wall, Sludge Belcher right up there with the Paladin Shredder, the Savage Warrior is gonna get mulliganed out. Maybe even the Paladin Shredder. I would keep the Sludge Belcher if I were a... You know it's a very aggressive deck. Wow. Wow, that's gonna backfire. He decides he doesn't want to hold on to Sludge Belcher, he only holds on to the Paladin Shredder. Instead gets Cenarius and Dr. Boom, some of the most expensive cards in this whole deck, which are completely and utterly useless in the early game. Hero Power, yeah, you can use it to whittle down the hit points of Ikarus, but it's not gonna make a whole lot of difference. Had he played, or kept the Sludge Belcher, we have to remember that this Cenarius would be a Sludge Belcher, and we would see how it plays out. Turn 3 looking a lot like Shade of Noxramas. It might be able to buy some time for yourself. You could even play down the Sludge Belcher now. Of course, these minions would trade into it. It would completely empty the board. And he's just basically waiting for Ikarus to play more minions down there so he can get as much value as possible from the swipe on turn 4. Deciding to not play the Direwolf Alpha. Maybe he is expecting the swipe. That could be the situation here. The Haunted Creeper is going to get removed with this Shade of Noxramas. To get those 1/1s out, then swiping out the Flame Imp, it will clear the opposing Warlock's board completely, and the second swipe as well. These are your life changers really in this matchup. Ikarus does have targets for the Implosion. It's a 100% guaranteed kill on the Shade of Noxramas, but even if he gets 4 1/1s, it's still going to be swiped away. And there is pretty much nothing in his hand right now that could utilize that to a certain extent. He knows that Ikarus runs the Enhansos and a lot of small minions otherwise. So, interestingly enough, without thinking, when you can play Dr. Boom, you should play Dr. Boom. These Boom bots do handle the minions on the board fairly effectively, and the odds of him dealing 16 damage right now are very, very low indeed. So, I understand why he played the 7 mana creature now that he did. And on turn 6 he can also swipe hero ability. Yeah, it's a pretty good on the curve play as well. Power onto one of the 1/1s. Yep, it does clear out the Doctor himself. Leaves those 1/1s up. The interesting choice here is, do you want to go for the Boombot clears or not? I personally think that the Zoolock in this situation, when you're holding on to this Enhancer Mechano already, you would want to go for face damage. You are a bit afraid of the swipe, but you're playing to win this match really. If you don't care if those boombots take out your guys on his turn. You want to maximize the damage output from them in this short amount of time that you have available to yourself. Here's the hero power, and then the boombot will clear out the first 1-1, try to maximize the damage output. 2 to the face, and a Power Shredder. Once again, looking very good for A. If he's able to innervate this scenarios with the 2-2 taunts on turn 7, he's already got the taunt wall going for himself as well, so that's something. Definitely no target's going to be up for the big game hunter in any time in the future. This 4-2 more than likely going to trade with the knife juggler when the scenarios comes out. Yep, and we will see it. That's the biggest damage dealer and the biggest threat to this throwing knives. 3-2 puddle stomper, not bad, not bad. It's basic 2 mana minion with 5 stats worth of body. Ikarus, Nerubian egg, even if only if you get the taunt onto it. You can maybe reversing switch kill it. Yeah, there we go. I understand this play. And the enhancer should be located on this side. Yep, there we go. If it gets Divine Shield onto the one, nope, doesn't. It does get the Divine Shield on the Nerubian, but that's not going to help him a whole lot. Given that you can pop the Divine Shield with either your hero ability or one of these smaller minions, and then go ahead and swipe the 4-4, clear out the 3-2. Interestingly enough, yeah, if you use this, you can switch the 4 damage to just Scenarius. And once again, it is looking a whole lot like A will take this matchup. And that underwhelming Undertaker just keeps making its appearance in situations where you don't want to be seeing it. Keeper of the Grove, you can use that if you want to remove the 1-2. Go for as much damage as possible. There we go, it's actually lethal with it. 2 damage to the face and the hero ability. Hey, does the reverse all kill? There we go.
I must safeguard.
It is 3-2 in favor of A. 83650 from Poland. And this is definitely Ikarus' match to lose. That Zoolock really not performing as well as you would want it to perform. Almost painful to watch. Probably doesn't have to have used it much in the previous matchups. And we could have missed how it should work. Maybe all those draws were pretty appalling, or the situation just didn't work out in favor of him. The Rogue did get all the AoE clears that he needed at certain stages. The Druid had a lot of taunts. And the Hunter was able to outrace him with the Unleash the Hounds especially. Yep, AoE eats out those Zoolocks, which are ultra aggressive.